All right, guys, welcome to a new podcast called Red Hot Communication. And let me ask you a question. Are you fire, ice, or just a little bit too nice? I know we can always be a little bit too nice when we shouldn't be. But yes, that's the question that we're always going to be answering for you guys as well. But anyways, I'm your co-host, Brett Deister, and a little bit about me is that I have my own podcast called Digital Coffee Podcast, where I talk about tech, marketing, and gaming. They all go together. I swear, just listen to it. You'll figure it out why. But anyways, my purpose of talking about this podcast today is to, we're going to help people with mastering the art of communication and becoming emotionally intelligent. Yes, you actually have to be smart about your emotions. It's weird, I know, but it makes all sense when you listen to this whole podcast. Anyways, I'm excited to introduce the main host of this podcast, Brenda Williams, and a little bit about her is that she's the founder and CEO of Academy for Leadership Communication. She is a well-respected coach who provides consulting and coaching to individuals, teams, and businesses for over 25 years. So that's a lot of experience, guys. If you're wondering, that's quite a bit of experience. And, well, today she's going to, help you understand or find or unlock the secrets of happiness and success, because we all want both of those. I mean, I sign up for that all the time. Anyways, I want to introduce and actually have the pleasure of introducing as well, Brenda. Hey, Brenda, how's it going?
Hello, Brett. It's going great. I'm so happy we're finally doing our first podcast together. It's wonderful to see you, and welcome to everybody out there, all of our guests.
Yes. We should all welcome them from wherever you're actually listening to, in your car or, working out or something like that, because it's a podcast. You can listen to it anywhere.
It makes it convenient. That's why I've had so many people ask me, when are you going to do a podcast? I've done a lot of webinars over the years, and it's not always convenient for people to watch a webinar. So they like that they can now have this for the convenience of when they're working out, driving to work. And what I like about it is we're going to be able to make this much more engaging to get the audience to participate. We're going to be asking for your questions, and we'll be sending you some information so that you can follow up with us, because I want to gear all of these podcasts towards helping you with your challenges and your needs so that you can create more happiness and success. And let me add, with less stress.
Ooh, less stress. Who wants to sign up for that one? I mean, I want to. I mean, stress follows me like my shadow. And sometimes I misplace them. I go, oh, is that my shadow or stress? I don't know which one it is. But yeah, so what's the whole tagline of are you fire, ice, or too nice? I mean, does that mean that people just burst into flames when they get mad, or they just go into this Frosty the Snowman thing? What's going on with all this stuff?
Well, I always like to say that I'm from Rhode Island, where the loud Italians and the crazy Irish people live, especially in my family. And sometimes they do burst into flames. If you ever seen anybody, a crazy Irish person or an Italian person get angry, they're almost shooting out of their head. But it was funny when I was putting the podcast together. It's all about communication and being able to express yourself in a more effective way. And that's not just when life's going smoothly. It's when you're dealing with difficult people and unhappy situations that can push our buttons. So are you the type of person that has that anger and that frustration where you really get heated quickly and you express it without meaning to, sometimes saying things you wish you hadn't have said? Or are you the one that gets a little cold and you retreat and you avoid? Mm-hmm. Or are you that people pleaser? But it's all about being nice. I don't want to ruffle too many feathers out there. And it doesn't matter which one you are. You'll all learn something from today's podcast and the future endeavors that we're going to be doing that will help you be more effective in how you communicate with others and relate to some of those difficult situations.
Yes, I mean, I get fired when I play video games, and I get really upset when we're losing, and then I burst into flames. And then rage quit, as one of the vernaculars in gaming is. But yeah, I mean, we're all in that spectrum of sometimes we are fire, sometimes we do retreat. I mean, I'm a bold person, but sometimes I retreat too, or a little too nice because, political environments have kind of infiltrated everywhere we go, so we don't want to make anybody upset anymore.
Exactly. I teach this stuff. I
Oh.
speak about it. I embrace it. My personal goal in life is to master it. And there's times where I don't want to go have a difficult conversation with a friend of mine, where I'll hesitate and take my time before I approach it. It's uncomfortable, and you never know what the outcome's going to be. So you have to overcome that fear, and you got to master the right approach so that you can get the best result. Mm-hmm. And it's really crucial in so many facets of our life. Makes a big difference in how successful you can be.
Yeah, I mean, it's all true. We all do it. But back to you, like, tell us a little bit about your background and why you're so passionate about coaching. I mean, it's not like the X's and O's like in football and all that stuff. Like, you go here and you go here. It's a little bit different, right?
Yeah, well, this goes back, about 15 years ago. I was sitting on the beach in Cancun, sipping on a martini, and a friend says to me, "What's your purpose in life?" And I don't know, has anybody ever asked you that question, Brett?
I've actually read the book Purpose Driven Life. Is that the same thing?
I've read that book as well. Good for you. Well, something like that. But I had not been asked that question. What is your purpose in life? And for those of you out there that haven't been asked that, take a moment to ponder on that when you get off the podcast. Are you living a completely fulfilling life? Are you doing what you're passionate and excited about every day? Most of the people I talk to, the answer is no. And how did I get where I am today? So part of what we're going to talk about as we go through this is really waking up, looking at who you are, who you become, where you're at, looking at our internal dialogue. But back to why I discovered my purpose, because that question sat with me, and I went on a mission to discover it. And I realized that part of what I was doing in corporate America was coaching and mentoring people in their careers. So I was providing IT consulting inside companies, and I found I was working with the executives all the way down to their management team, the staff, into HR, and then I had my team of people back at the office that would find technology people to work on their projects. And there were a lot of communication challenges from all the stories that I heard. Most of the issues and the challenges and obstacles revolved around communication. So when I realized that the coaching and the mentoring that I'd been doing to teach people how to sell themselves, how to build better teams, how to excel in their career, how to win job opportunities, I realized that it was so important for them to master the art of communication and to overcome some of their fears and to learn new skills, and that it could be life-changing. Because it shows up in almost everything we do. Inspiring and motivating people, dealing with teammates, selling a concept and an idea that you want to get through, even in your relationships. How many of you have wives, husbands, and kids, family members that might not always be that easy to get along with? We have to communicate. It helps us in our careers. It helps us make more money if we want to get promoted. It helps us be recognized. It helps us continue to have happy marriages and get our kids to do things they don't want to do.
That's a Herculean task right there.
That's for sure. So with that being said, I decided that specializing in communication and emotional intelligence was my passion. I saw first-handedly growing up how our role models will teach us how to communicate. There aren't usually classes that we take in school. And if you don't have perfect parents and perfect role models around you, you can learn some bad habits along the way. Anybody like that?
Me, probably. I'll be honest, I have bad habits. I mean, I'm human like everybody else. I try my best to do the best communication I can with the knowledge that I have, but there's always room to grow.
We all have room to grow, even me. I grew up in that crazy family. And so I have to hit the pause button sometimes if my default zone slips in when my feathers get ruffled. So it is a lifelong journey to doing this. But what it can get you is unbelievable. The stress in your life can disappear. Your happiness will grow. And so will your bank account.
Bank account. That sounds nice. Like you decided to specialize in communication, emotional intelligence. Why did you decide to do those two out of? I mean, there's a whole bunch of different things in the umbrella of communication that you could do. Why did you choose communication and emotional intelligence?
Well, emotional intelligence is pretty fascinating stuff. You know, as I've studied this over the years, I've recognized there's a lot behind communication that we're not taught. We don't learn growing up. I mean, our brains are wired to communicate. We have emotions in our brains. So when we think, our emotions get triggered. And so if we're not consciously aware of what those triggers are and our hot buttons, and we react without being emotionally intelligent and knowing when to express ourselves with the right words and the right tone, we can get in trouble. And I used to get in trouble. My boss used to say to me a while ago, Brenda, 2 steps forward and 1 step back. Because I was that person in the meeting that would speak up. I learned to speak my mind at a very young age. And I also learned as an adult, that can get you in trouble. So you better learn when to hit pause and how to express yourself in an emotionally intelligent way. And so it's funny, when people start following their passion in life, usually it's something near and dear to their heart. And that's why it's so important to me. I want to master this stuff myself. I want to be amazing at communicating. I want to be able to express myself and set healthy boundaries, ask for what I want, tell people when I think maybe we could do things more appropriately, and not be fearful of that. And it's amazing when you can approach these conversations with the right tone, the right words. It changes the game. And I see it in my clients that I teach. Their relationships transform. And they create a different life, which is happier. They connect with people at a deeper level. They build relationships. People will follow them. It's really amazing to see what a difference it can make for people.
So that's how you actually help people. You basically completely transform them. I mean, not looks-wise, but at least from the inside out, because I think a lot of times it's more important, because you could change your outward appearance pretty easily, but the inside is a little bit more difficult to actually deal with, because then you have habits, and habits are bad sometimes.
Yes, we all have habits. I like to say, looking in the mirror at the good, the bad, and sometimes the ugly. And it's funny because we all have tendencies and things about us that maybe if we just shifted or modified just a little bit, things could really change for us. So the question is, what do you want to be different in your life? Are you looking to be a leader and get promoted? Are you looking to have better relationships with the people you work with? Or are you already leading people and you want to inspire and motivate them and create a better culture? Teams that are more effective and more productive, that enjoy coming to work, that are more engaged and more excited to be there. Or are you having challenges in your personal life with your kids, your husband, your wife? I mean, it really runs to all facets of our life. So what is it for you? And as we go through these podcasts, ask yourself, which of these tools do I need to spend time on so that I can start practicing this in the real world? I'm going to give you tangible tools. I'm going to give you gifts. I'm going to give you programs. I'm going to give you things that you can use in real life. Tangible tools and skills and resources that can help you modify your approach with people so you can get more of what you want. And we'll start today. We're going to start with some gifts today at the end of the podcast.
Just so we're clear, these are not animated gifts like you see on Twitter. These are actually like hand-wrapped gifts, right?
Well, they're real gifts. They come to my computer, my internet, my website. That didn't even make sense. But you all get the gist of it.
They're on their computer. You go to your website. There you go.
Yeah. So you come over here. I'll give you my info. And I'll provide you with some resources so you can start making changes in your life immediately. And each time we do a podcast, my goal is to understand your needs and your challenges and how can I help you be more effective. So the podcast will get really interesting. And the great thing about these is I'm not sitting in a corporate office. So I like to say I help people create extraordinary relationships all the way from the boardroom to the bedroom. So we can have fun with this.
Yes. Not too much fun, but just enough fun. But yeah, I mean, you kind of just summed up like what things you actually do provide for it, and what everything that Academy for Leadership Communication stands for. It's kind of a tongue twister, guys. Say it like 5 times, and you'll get tongue twisted like myself. But you kind of provided it. But I mean, provide a little bit more information of what you provide and what Academy for Leadership Communication is all about.
Well, basically, I have two companies. And the first one is Your Coaching Solution, which is yourcoachingsolution.com. And that one is geared more towards life coaching and career coaching. So the resources and tools that you can gather from that website are focused on your life and your career. And then I started the business division, which is the Academy for Leadership Communication.com. And the reason I started that is the business world has different terminology, different approaches, different skill sets. They're more business focused to get teams of people to work together more effectively, to help leadership enhance their leadership skills and their leadership capabilities. So I have 2 different divisions of the company with different purposes. So we'll switch up. And we'll talk about business on some of the podcasts, and then we'll talk about life and careers on some of the others. And what I find is, in coaching people, it doesn't matter which one I speak to, because we all have a business and we all have a life. And most of us have a career. So really, all of the information I share can be utilized depending on where your biggest challenges are.
Yes, businesses, careers, and just life. I feel like that's just a motto everywhere, because everybody has a career, even though it's not something they like to do. It's still a career in a way, and sometimes people just fall into stuff. Like I fell into podcasting, wasn't really planning on doing it, but it just seemed to work naturally for me. But tell me a little bit more about how you help people or individuals or organizations. How do you help them, become more emotionally intelligent?
Well, we'll talk about emotional intelligence, and I'll go into the 4 quadrants in much more detail in a future podcast. But just so some of you are probably saying, what is emotional intelligence? A lot of people don't even know what it is. It's becoming more prevalent in the workplace, because businesses are realizing most of their challenges are people challenges. It's how we can get along and relate to other people. So first is being aware of yourself. Have you ever known someone that's maybe a little difficult to get along with, but they don't even realize it? They think it's everybody else that's the problem. So the first step is really being self-aware, really knowing who you are, and taking a look in that mirror I talked about earlier. Then the second piece of that is, once you know, how do you want to change that a little bit so that you can work with others more effectively, communicate with others, guide and mentor others? How do you manage that relationship? What do you want to do differently so you can get more of what you want? And as we talked earlier, some people might be more aggressive and assertive, and that might steer people the wrong way or, ruffle feathers. Others are afraid of asking for what they want. So they're people pleasers. There's a lot of different personalities and characteristics that we'll talk about as we go through the podcast. The other side of emotional intelligence is, if you're like, hey, I got this down, I really have my act together. Well, it's looking at the rest of the world. How are they doing? Does everybody around you have their act together? Or maybe there might be one person in your life that's a little challenging to live with or work with. And why is that? Discovering what's going on there. Learning to take a different approach with them so that you can manage the relationship more effectively. It's a game changer.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, I'm pretty sure everybody is difficult to work with every once in a while in their life. I mean, we all have our seasons of life and seasons of, you're just really difficult right now, aren't you? Yes, I am. But yeah, I mean, that's totally true about everything. So speaking on just that, what kind of topics are we going to be talking about in the upcoming episodes of this podcast? Because people are probably clamoring, going, "Ooh, I wonder what else is going to be talked about."
Well, I'm going to start going into a little bit of depth with my book, the book that's on my website that I'm giving away as our free gift today. And so we're going to start going through that. So it would be great if you all start reading it, and then you'll really get what I'm talking about during the podcast. So the first one is really self-awareness. If you don't know who you are or how you're showing up, then you can't really do much about it. So the first step is to really assess what's going on for you in the world. So I like to look at creating a mindset for success. And what I mean by that is you start looking at your internal communication. What are you telling yourself every day? What do you think about people and situations? So let me just give you a little example. So that topic is going to focus on when you wake up in the morning, are you the type of person that gets out of bed excited and cheerful and you can't wait to get to work? Every time I speak, most people have this look on their face like, are you crazy?
It's like they're eating Brussels sprouts.
Most people wake up. Okay, so the go-getters, overachievers, very successful people that I work with wake up in the morning thinking about their to-do list, their task list. What am I going to do today? What do I got to get done today? And they get in that go, 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 zone. So they stop having balance. They stop relating and connecting. And sometimes they're not taking the time to emotionally connect with people. Or are you the type that wakes up just thrilled for life? Most people have to work at that. Most people have to wake up and start with the attitude of gratitude. So I'll share some tools with you on how can you wake up and be aware of your internal dialogue, what you're telling yourself. Are you creating a great day? I left a message the other day for someone, and instead of saying have a great day, I said make it a great day. Because we're all going to have obstacles and challenges happening in our lives. It's just the world we live in. It's how are you reacting to them? So that's what we talk about. We start being more consciously aware of what's going on inside your little brain. What are you thinking? How are you feeling? And most importantly, how are you reacting? What is the result that you're getting? And I can tell you firsthand, because I practice this, and I have my clients practice it. When you start creating that mindset for success, and you start seeing things in a more positive light, and you focus on the good things, life will start to change right before your eyes. So mindset for success is going to be what we'll start with. Then we're going to talk about your hidden obstacles. What are your roadblocks? Have you ever made an excuse, Brett, about why you can't do something?
Oh, yeah. I make excuses all the time. Like, I'm too tired. I don't have enough coffee. I'm very addicted to the coffee. Good coffee, I should say. Because there are some bad coffees. But yeah, I make excuses all the time. We have that type of capacity of doing so much, and then we just have to... The best way of doing it is make an excuse. I don't have enough time. I'm too busy. I think it's the best excuse.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one. We all have excuses. I even make excuses, but now I catch myself. Because as a coach, we're trained to find the hidden obstacles, the hidden roadblocks that you don't see. And when I'm working with people one-on-one as their coach, I'm able to hear things and see things that they don't recognize. And I'm able to remove those roadblocks so they can get what they want. So they can get to that next level in their life, in their relationships, in their careers. So removing those hidden roadblocks and those excuses will be one of the podcasts. Active listening. If you don't know how to listen and ask good questions, it's going to hold you back in a lot of ways. So that's huge. And you had mentioned healthy boundaries. How important you felt. Why do you think healthy boundaries are so important?
Because I think a lot of times we will just keep on pushing that boundary until we give ourselves a hard line, and then we'll do things that we may even not agree with doing as well. So we'll kind of even, not be true to our own values. So boundaries, I think, do help create that. These are my values. I will not step over this type of a thing.
Yeah. And it's at a personal level as well as a professional level. And this is where I talked about you bridge the gap. In the business world, I've found that people don't set boundaries. They end up doing too much. They take too much on their shoulders. So let me give you an example. Some of you out there might take great pride in being very dedicated, disciplined, results-oriented. I get things done. I can handle it. A real go-getter, overachiever, controller-type personality. And some of them are the most successful people in the world because they get things done. But sometimes, because they're out to prove that they're so capable, in the business world, I've had clients that don't want to say no. I can't do that. They don't want to ask for help because they might be looked at as someone who can't get it done. So they'll say yes, and before you know it, they have more and more projects, and some of them are working 50, 60, 70 hours a week. And then what happens? They get burned out. They're unhappy. Their health goes. They're stressed. And so many, many times I can look at people in a coaching session and very quickly evaluate what's going on in your world. Where are the things that need to change so that you can have a happy, balanced life without stress? Boundaries is a big one. And how many of you have ever gone to a Christmas dinner or a family event that maybe you didn't want to go to?
Probably few times.
Well, how many of you do things you don't want to do because you're afraid to say no? They might not like me. I don't want to upset the apple cart. So when you can learn to set healthy boundaries and recognize what's important to you and love yourself first, your life becomes better immediately.
So what you're saying is you're also teaching people the art of no?
Absolutely. You have to learn when to say no. And sometimes it's important. Sometimes we take too much on our plates. And then we get to the point of burnout. And for some of us, it affects our stress, which directly affects our health. And you see that all the time in the business world these days. And companies are becoming aware of it. When they practice emotional intelligence inside an organization, the sick days lessen. People aren't as unhappy. They're not as stressed out. Because you got everybody talking to each other. You got people collaborating. You get more creativity in an organization. It's a game changer for companies. And then you got the difficult conversation. Have you ever had to have a difficult conversation?
No. Never. That never happens with me.
And how many of you out there are avoiding a difficult conversation as we speak? I have to say I'm good. I'm clear. I had to have a couple difficult conversations. I'd been putting them off for a month or two. Even I was putting them off. Now, I was traveling and enjoying life, but I was still hesitant to go have that conversation. But I said, you can't teach this if you don't practice it. So what's amazing is once you have the conversation, it really lightens the load. How many of you have had friendships end because you didn't want to approach a conversation? Or I've had people leave their careers because they didn't want to have a difficult conversation. So what I do is teach you how can you turn a difficult conversation into a positive outcome. And it's a skill that you can learn. And when you stop being fearful and hesitating and avoiding people and those conversations, the world can change.
That sounds really good. I think people should just sign up now. Which, speaking about that, where can they actually, send their questions or challenges that they may have? Because everybody's got them, I hope.
Well, I'm going to throw some information out there, and this will also be in the show notes for those of you that are driving or not able to write this down. But I'm going to give you my phone number first and foremost, 714-283-1186. And my email is BrendaWilliams with an S at Academy FLC. And the F stands for Leadership Communication. Brenda Williams at academyflc.com. And I want to invite you to go to the websites so you can get your free gift. And for those of you that are more interested in life coaching and career coaching, go to yourcoachingsolution.com. and go ahead and subscribe in there. You'll get my book on the 7 secrets to successful communication and a 24-week life coaching program that covers a lot of the areas we're talking about.
Fancy.
Yeah. And every week you'll get a new tool that can help you along this path. And then those of you that are more focused in the business world, it would be Academy for Leadership Communication.com. So that's how you can get in touch with me. And we have some upcoming events that'll be happening. I have a vision board event. I have a business emotional intelligence workshop. And for those of you that want to do workshops and seminars inside your company, please let me know. And you can always look on our events pages on the websites to find out about those upcoming events. But most importantly, I want to ask you to email me your questions. Tell me about your challenges and let me help you. I'll speak to them in the upcoming podcasts. And the more detail you can give me, the better. I'll go into real life examples, and maybe Brett can find a way that we can have you call in and we can do a coaching call right over the phone. You know, I'm open to ideas and suggestions. This podcast is all about you. It's about helping you be more successful and living a happier life with more joy. So you tell me how I can help all of you. And that's what we're going to focus the future podcasts on.
Just one more quick thing, because it's an interesting thing. What is energy leadership? I mean, is that like someone that has way too much caffeine and way too much sugar? It's like, okay, guys, we got to do this, and everybody's like, whoa, dude, slow down. Is that it? Or is there something else about that? Because energy, I mean, people love energy.
Well, energy leadership is one of my programs that I offer. And we'll dip into that in the future. But the gist of it is, it's a tool. And a lot of people out there might say, I know I got some bad habits. And I've tried to change. And sometimes I just slip right on back to my bad habits. And I found that myself. When I started this journey 15 years ago, I took a deep look in the mirror. I found out who I truly was. And I had a list of things that I wanted to change, to be a better person, to be more successful. And it wasn't easy. I'd been doing those things for a very long time. So it's a tool that can help people learn how to change. Pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, it sounds actually really cool. I mean, we all have our bad habits. I mean, can't get around that part about it.
And we all have great things about us as well.
It's very true.
So it's not about just focusing on, what we need to change and modify. I believe we all have wonderful things to bring to the world. There's a lot of great people that we have around us. It's just sometimes, we can be challenged. There's a lot going on in the world. And these days, we're doing the jobs of 2 people. You got both parents working in households. They're running around taking care of kids and trying to keep up a career, working 50 hours a week. I mean, some of us are just overloaded. And sooner or later, those pressures can cause us to react. So how do we look at things differently? How do we hit pause when life just gets out of control? So being aware of your thoughts, your emotions, your feelings, and how are you reacting to those situations is very important. Because once you're aware, you can consciously decide what level you want to be at. Do you want to be at a happier, more joyful level where you're successful and you don't have any stress? Or do you want to be at the very bottom level where you're the victim and you're lethargic and you can't stand going to work? So my whole goal, my passion behind coaching is to be able to help people get from I don't like this about my life to this is what I want my life to be. This is where I want to go. This is what I want to create. And help you get there. And it's a really awesome experience when I can watch that happen.
I don't think there's any better way of ending that podcast on that note. I mean, that's actually a pretty good end of that thing. I mean,
yeah, that works for me.
That's an uplifting message. I don't know what else I could say about that besides, yeah, let's do it.
So tune in for our next podcast. We'll have another one every week. Our goal is to do one every week and be consistent. So please get engaged with us. Reach out to us. We're excited to hear from you. And we'll be back in touch soon. Look for our podcasts.
Yes, and as always, if you want to subscribe to it on Google Play Music or iTunes, it should be up in iTunes momentarily. It just takes a couple days for iTunes to actually do their whole process, but we should be up there as well for you iPhone users. But anyways, yeah, do that and make sure to follow us on social media as well and to go to the website too. Just one more time, what was the website that you wanted people to go to?
Well, let's just throw out academyforleadershipcommunication.com, yourcoachingsolution.com, and just call me if you need my help in any way. 714-283-1186, and we look forward to talking.
All right, and I am your co-host, Brett Deister, and your main host, Brenda Williams. We'll be back next week, so you guys have a great rest of your week and enjoy it.